I guess you could say this is a follow-up to my Casablanca review. If you saw it, you would remember that I was not a very big fan of that film. So I figured this time, I'd review a Humphrey Bogart movie that I actually like, The Maltese Falcon. I want to state right now, this isn't a trend that's going to keep going. It is surprisingly difficult to upload reviews of classic movies onto YouTube. As such, I gotta go through a lot of loops in order for me to actually talk about these great classics. It's just a little too much work for me, so I want to save it for something that's very special. As such, I'm probably not going to be doing another classic movie review unless, well, I somehow run into Treasure of Sierra Madre. Or if somehow this video reaches 10,000 views within the first week of me posting it. After the credits with a very familiar cast of Casablanca, we are given some backstory as to what the Falcon is. We then go to a detective agency in San Francisco, where a Miss Wonderly comes in looking for some help. She's from New York City, and is looking for her sister, Corinne. She is mixed up with a dangerous character named Floyd Thursby. Miss Wonderly has attempted to meet her in San Francisco, but has had no luck. During this story, the detective's partner Miles Archer comes in. Miss Wonderly is to meet with Thursby that night and would like some cover. She is scared that he will either kill her sister or the detective. Miles takes on the case personally and will be there to cover Miss Wonderly for the potential exchange. Miles, however, was shot before the exchange was made, and a phone call is given to Sam. I'm no cinematographer, but I love this shot of Sam picking up the phone. Before he goes to the crime scene, he first calls up his secretary, as he does not want to personally break the news to the recent widow, as well as adds not to have the widow come to Sam anytime soon. After looking over the crime scene, Sam finds very little and heads home. There, two policemen arrive that think Sam is very suspicious. I can't necessarily blame them. I mean, look at how Sam reacts to the crime scene.
Miles had his faults just like in the rest of us, but I guess he must have had some good points too, huh?
I guess so.
They also inform Sam that Thursby has been killed. The next day, Sam goes to the office where the widow wants to see Sam personally. She wonders if he is the one that killed Miles. Sam is justifiably hurt by this claim and even throws it right back in her face. However, Sam knows these tears are for real and consoles her before sending her on her way. Alone in the office, Sam looks over to Miles' desk. Before putting much thought into it, the secretary comes in, telling that the widow wasn't at home when Miles was shot. While Sam congratulates the amateur sleuthing, he doesn't believe she did it. Miss Wonderly then calls and arranges a meeting. She is going under the name of Miss LeBlanc for safety. Before leaving, Spade wants to remove all mention of Miles Archer, including his desk. Miss Wonderly comes clean, and she says that the story about her sister was a lie. She does give her real name, Miss O'Shaughnessy. She met Thursby in Hong Kong, and he had a tendency to be ultra paranoid. He always came armed because he knew someday somebody was going to try to kill him. Mrs. O'Shaughnessy believes that it must have been Thursby that killed Miles. As for who killed Thursby, she has no idea. Sam asks how much money she has, to which Miss O'Shaughnessy replies $500 and asks for all of it. With the money, he will find out what he can. When he returns to her place, he will knock in a specific pattern. While Sam goes to try to get the police off his back, he is met with a Mr. Cairo at the office. He's trying to receive a statue of a bird and will pay $5,000 for no questions asked. Secretary calls to see if there is anything else he needs. Spade sends her home, and when he hangs up the phone, Mr. Cairo pulls a gun on him, saying he has to search the office. Sam dispatches of him and tries to get some information on him. Joel wakes up and is annoyed about how his suit got ruined. Turns out he did not have $5,000. And Joel wants to know why he was knocked out. Obviously it's because he was held up. He does take $200 as a down payment for the job, when Joel holds Sam up again to search the office. Talk about a one-track mind, but despite all that, he is probably my favorite character in the movie. And on top of that, he is played by Peter Lorre, probably one of my favorite actors from this era of cinema.
Spade goes to Miss O'Shaughnessy's when Sam realizes he's being followed. He loses the tail and makes it to her place. He drops the name of Joel Cairo to see her reaction. She seems quite nervous at the name. He then tells the story, to which he is considering the money. Miss O'Shaughnessy fears this will sway his loyalty. For Sam, there is more to trust than just money. He wants more proof she is telling the truth. After he has a long kiss, she wants to meet up with Joel, so they set up a meeting at Sam's place.
Maybe it's just the way he was introduced, but it just seems weird that you could just call up Mr. Cairo for a meeting. It seems more like when you want him, he'll find you, rather than you find him.
Cairo comes over to find he was being trailed as well. Joel is willing to offer $5,000 upon the return of the asset, provided it's during banking hours, of course. According to Miss O'Shaughnessy, she doesn't have the Falcon, but will arrive in 1 week, and Miss O'Shaughnessy is happy to be rid of it. After the death of Mr. Thursby, she gets the feeling the bird will kill her next. As for who killed Thursby, she thinks it was the Fat Man.
At this mention, Joel becomes very uneasy, especially with the follower just outside the window.
Miss O'Shaughnessy then states he can escape him like the last follower. Joel then tries to shift the blame back to Miss O'Shaughnessy when she slaps him. He is about to pull out a gun when Sam steps in.
I have no idea why, but this prompts one of the more famous lines of the movie.
When you're slapped, you'll take it and like it.
As Sam intervenes, the two policemen arrive again. They change their tune and think Sam killed Miles to marry the wife. Without a search warrant or proper evidence, the pair decide to leave. They are about to go when Cairo screams. Everyone goes in to see Cairo's forehead is bleeding. Both have contradictory stories when the policemen think about taking all of them in. Sam convinces them to leave when Mr. Cairo heads home.
Which then prompts one of my favorite lines from the movie.
Now, what's the hurry, Cairo? There is no hurry. It's getting quite late.
Alone, Spade talks to Miss O'Shaughnessy. He wants to know what the deal is with the Falcon. She wants some consoling, and when Spade bends over to kiss her, he sees the mysterious man at the window again.
Just like a lot of other media at the time, Sam Spade puts on a cup of coffee. It's like 10 o'clock at night. How in the world do these people sleep? I mean, was there just a lot more ADHD going on back then, and that was the only way they could sleep, was having a high dose of caffeine before falling asleep? It's just weird.
The next day, Spade goes to Cairo's hotel. In the lobby, he sees the follower. He attempts to get some information from him, but doesn't get anywhere. So, he calls over another detective to get some answers. Once again, no information, but he leaves. Turns out, they took Cairo to be interrogated and didn't tell them anything. At the office, Spade got a phone call from the DA with Miss O'Shaughnessy inside. She is rather scared as her apartment had been trashed when Sam says to stay at the secretary's place.
I guess now is as good a time of any as to talk about the secretary. Wow, she is quite a pillar in that organization. Sure, she is shaken up a little bit at the death of Miles, but she's been in this field for so long she knows that such a phone call wasn't out of the realm of possibility. And on top of that, to deliver the news that he was dead to the widow, and then to tell her that she can't see Sam for a while, and then just willingly have Mrs. O'Shaughnessy stay at her house until the heat dies down. It's just really amazing how much strength this woman has, especially for this time in cinema.
Sam calls up the DA for a meeting. When he hangs up, it turns out the widow was waiting for him. She sent the policeman to Sam's place last night. He still consoles her, though, and sends her away. He then gets a call from a Mr. Gutman. At his place, Mr. Gutman asks a few probing questions to see what kind of man Sam is. They get an understanding and go right into the Black Bird. He is surprised that nobody told him what the bird is. Spade realizes that there is a lot of worth and lies about Cairo, offering him $10,000 for it. The talk goes nowhere when Sam unloads both barrels. The stranger from before sees what the commotion is about when Sam orders that he stop being followed. He then goes to the DA. Spade is pretty ticked off as he needs to see this case through to prove his innocence, and the police keep getting in the way. After the DA, the stranger collects him, saying Mr. Gutman wants to see him. Before heading in, Spade disarms him. Now, Mr. Gutman tells of the bird.
This is probably my biggest gripe of the movie. Why have that opening text? I get the feeling that maybe there are some audience goers that wanted to know right away what the Maltese Falcon was all about. But in my opinion, it kills a fair bit of the mystery, because up to this point we have just been given little dribbles. It is a very humble looking statue in the shape of a falcon that people are willing to pay money for, and at least a few people have died over. And on top of that, I think Sidney Greenstreet just does a fantastic job not only building intrigue as to what the Maltese Falcon is, but also to answer the questions that the audience would have about the Maltese Falcon. So, why have it in there twice? I don't understand it.
The bird changed hands multiple times, with one of them putting a thick coat of black enamel to hide its real value. It eventually landed in the hands of a
Carlos Constantinides.
This was where Mr. Gutman first heard of it, but he wasn't the only one. A Russian general killed Carlos and took the bird before Mr. Gutman could get to it. Mr. Gutman tracked down the general and attempted to buy it from him. When that didn't work, he sent a few agents to steal the bird. Spade says he can get the falcon in a few days, when Gutman offers $50,000 or even $250,000 for it. As they talk price, Spade starts to fade away. Realizing he's been drugged, he attempts to go to the door. However, the stranger, Wilner, knocks him down. Him, Gutman, and even Cairo leave Spade alone for several hours. When he comes to, he makes a phone call to the secretary. Turns out Miss O'Shaughnessy never went there. He tells her to meet him at the office, but not before Sam looks over the place. He finds a newspaper which circles a ship from Hong Kong called La Paloma. Spade investigates to find that the ship is on fire. At the office, the secretary tends to Sam's wounds while he tells her the story. The stranger comes in, carrying a package. He drops it before dropping dead on the sofa. Turns out he had been shot several times. The secretary feels a little faint, but Sam is able to snap her out of it. Sam opens the mysterious package to see that it is the Falcon. Spade then puts the bird in a safe place, all the while giving the secretary instructions as to what to tell the police about the dead man. Turns out, the dead man was Captain Jacoby, the master of the ship that was set on fire. As Sam goes home, Miss O'Shaughnessy comes to him very much afraid. When he returns home, he sees Wilner before everybody else comes in the frame. Mr. Gutman gives the first down payment to the Falcon. He only pays $10,000 for good faith. Sam then tells everybody that they need a fall guy for the 3 murders. Spade recommends Wilner, to which Gutman finds it absolutely crazy. He's treated Wilner like his own son, and on top of that, he's worried he'll blab. Wilner gets quite ticked at the idea when Gutman talks him down. Sam then recommends Cairo, to which everybody then starts pointing fingers at everybody else. The more they talk, the more they realize Wilner is really the best option here. When he attempts to take out Spade, they knock him out when Mr. Gutman begrudgingly agrees to let Wilner take the fall. So their alibis are all the same? Sam needs to know the details, to which Gutman tells all. Wilner killed Thursby to get Miss O'Shaughnessy. Thursby killed Archer, and Wilner killed the captain. And it was also Wilner that caused the fire to get to the Falcon. Spade talks to the secretary and tells her to bring over the package, PDQ. It is still some time before the Falcon arrives, when everybody takes their waiting position. The secretary then rings the doorbell, bringing everybody back to life again. They wait until she leaves before they rip open that package. After opening it, I love how we savor the Falcon itself. This item has been the cause of death for several, and it's an item of legend. Us as the audience get to admire it along with the characters. Gutman attempts to take off the lacquer, but as he does, he realizes that it's a fake. First, Spade blames Miss O'Shaughnessy. Then Cairo blames Gutman for trying to buy it.
We then get probably my favorite scene in the whole movie.
You and your stupid attempt to buy it. Canada found out how valuable it was.
No wonder we had such an easy time stealing it. You imbecile, you bloated idiot, you stupid fucker, you...
Mr. Gutman is very much annoyed by this, but laughs it all off and even invites Cairo to track down the real Maltese Falcon. Wilner escapes, to which Gutman wants his money back. Spade takes $1,000 out of the wad to cover the expenses of his services. The group leaves, to which Spade explains everything to the police. He then wants the story from Miss O'Shaughnessy. Turns out that Thursby gave Miss O'Shaughnessy the gun, and Miss O'Shaughnessy killed Miles. With Thursby gone, she needed Spade for protection, along with all the information that Spade had. Before Miss O'Shaughnessy is taken away, he says that she will probably get 20 years to life, and after that time, he will still want to see her again. However, if she gets the noose, he will just remember her the way she was. She attempts to sway Spade with emotion. However, he gives a great speech as to why he can never let the death of Archer go.
I would love to show this speech, but I just know that YouTube is just going to immediately strike this video if I do.
She attempts a passionate kiss when the police arrive. It turns out that everybody in this conspiracy is now in custody. One of the policemen spots the Falcon at the table and asks Spade,
What is it? The stuff that dreams are made of.
but the bars close in on Miss O'Shaughnessy. They share a longing look with each other and say goodbye. The movie then ends to the tune of It Had to Be You.
As you could probably tell from my Sherlock Holmes vlogs, I am a big fan of a great mystery. But the biggest problems I have with a good mystery is, once it's solved, it feels like each successive watching of it kind of takes away a little bit more of the story with each time. This, I don't think, is too much of a detriment to the Maltese Falcon because this is honestly a very complicated mystery, and I feel like I needed to watch it a few times just to fully understand what was going on. And on top of that, even if you know the twist about the Maltese Falcon, you can still very much enjoy the great performance that these actors have for these roles. You can tell that nobody is holding back. And even I can agree that Humphrey Bogart does a fantastic job in this movie. Now, I get the idea that in Casablanca he's supposed to be a broken man scorned by love, and as such he gets this feeling that if he shows too much of it, he's just gonna end up heartbroken once again. But yet, I don't really get that so much from his performance. It just feels more like this was the 10th movie that he had to work on that afternoon, and he's just completely done with it. Here, though, there is a charisma. He's very energetic in his performance. And once again, that could maybe come down to the director. Sam Spade is more playing the part of somebody who's probably just been doing a lot of boring menial investigation jobs. Maybe you'd have to tail somebody every so often, or you'd have to look into some stranger that's been harassing a woman. But here he finally has a case that is challenging, and he wants to see it through to the end. And every time he comes up with a solution, you can just see that sparkle in his eye as he knows he's getting one step closer to figuring this whole thing out. And to go back to the Casablanca comparison, I feel like this movie has a fair bit more action. Now, what do I mean by that? I feel like there was just a lot of scenes in Casablanca where characters were talking about fantastic events that happened, but rarely ever showing it. Here, it was more showing these great action pieces rather than talking about them. I mean, sure, there were probably a few things that could have been shown in this movie, but I think it does the job fine. And on top of that, I was vested. I wanted to see where it would go. There was just so many different details, and with each clue that was coming on, you were just like, wow, how in the world does all this fit together? And even by the end, as I mentioned before, it still takes a while to get everything together, and to me, I feel like that leaves something to be appreciated. You're thinking about the movie more. With Casablanca, after I finished it, I'm like, I don't get it. This movie, I do get it. So, that is my thoughts on the Maltese Falcon. sometime later in the future, I do have one other review in mind. The Guns of Navarone, and the book that inspired it. I hope you will join me then.